Were you amazed at yourself when you returned the second one for a touchdown?
Yeah, I've had 2 in one game in Indy, but and it's punt returns, but on the kickoff return, I definitely was running down the sideline. I looked over and saw nobody, and I was like, oh wow, I might really be gone here. Like, we have 3 zone. I had 3 on my thigh pads today. It's been amazing, but all that was for him, and I'm happy for the things that happened to me, but I was spirited. I felt like he was out there with us.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I'm Connor Rogers alongside Matthew Berry, Jay Croucher at the top of the show. That was Nyheim Hines on an emotional day in Buffalo, guys, where, I mean, my goodness, you couldn't script a better start for the Buffalo Bills in that game.
Felt fake. Felt incredibly fake and magnificent.
There's something that we always talk about, like movie moments, right? We talk about movie moments like as in like this couldn't be real life. It only happened in a movie, right? And it almost is unbelievable for a movie. Like if you saw a movie about this whole thing and then like, oh, and then he returns the first kick for a touchdown. And I think I saw I saw Josh Allen, his post-game press conference, where he talked about the fact that I think it had been 3 years and 3 days or something like that since there had been a kick, and so like obviously DeMar Hamlin's number is number 3. You saw the tweet there, OMFG. I know the O stands for O and the M stands for my and the G stands for God. But Connor, do you know what the F stands for?
No.
You're one of the young ones. What is the OMFG?
Fabulous?
Fabulous?
Oh, my fabulous God.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it, but we'll get Blake, I need you to do research on that, what that F stands for. I'm not sure what it does.
So the Bills take care of business.
Frickin'.
Oh, my freaking God. Oh, my frick God.
Freaking, but with a U.
DeMar Hamlin live tweeting during the game.
Yeah.
That was
It's
cool.
just tremendous.
Super great.
It's excellent to see.
Great.
The Bills.
There was some good and there was some bad this weekend, but
Yes,
there was one great, and it was that. So
so the Bills take care of business against New England. New England does not make the playoffs. The Bills, led by Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, for the large part, the story of their season.
yeah, look, I mean, Josh Allen is #good. There you go. Analysis. There we gotta go. This is, by the way, that's John. Is that Diggs? That's the Diggs one.
Yes.
Okay, that's the Diggs one. There was a longer pass to John Brown, and everyone's like, wait a minute. Brown? Who's Brown? I'm like, John Brown?
Smokey.
Like Smokey Brown?
Yes, he's back.
Like, he's back. Like, where's he been? 2007, Smokey Brown? Like, he can still fly. Anyway, so, Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things and coming through when you needed him to do 20 or more fantasy points each of his final 4 games this season. Finishes as the 3rd best quarterback in fantasy in Week 18. So if you had your championship in Week 18, in a game in which you needed Josh Allen, he delivered. Obviously understanding that, if you had Josh Allen last week, chances are, maybe it was a 2-week playoff. It's one of the reasons why, by the way, we haven't figured this all out. And this is probably not the show for this. But I believe, tell me what you think about this.
Sure.
Well, I don't like Week 8. I don't like playing fantasy football in Week 18. I don't. But I do like the idea of a 2-week playoff. So, like back in my old home, back at ESPN, the standard format was the last 4 weeks of the season were 2 different 2-week playoff periods. And the reason I like a 2-week playoff period is because of things that happened last week, or you happen to play against somebody that just you play against Alvin Kamara with a 6-touchdown game, and you're just like, oh, you know what I mean? And your entire season has gone down. Right.
Like
so it just
why the World Series isn't a one-off.
Right, or the NBA finals, right? There's multiple games. So I would like teams to either start their playoffs a week early to do 2-week playoffs, or semi-radical idea, do head-to-head and you get into the playoffs. But once you're in the playoffs, the 6 teams that are in the playoffs, there's no more head-to-head. It's just total points for the 4-week period, the 3-week period of the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, firstly, you said this isn't the show to discuss this. I kind of feel like it is, as we are a fantasy football show.
And it is postseason.
So maybe this is a good show to discuss it. Yeah, I think that
No waiver wires today, folks.
I think there's kind of an obsession across fantasy and across all sports of like the best team needs to win. I'm not about that. Like the best team doesn't have to win. The Giants beat the Pats in 07 and that's fantastic. Like you don't have to have, I like fluky wins so long as, you know, the format is set and you have a path to winning. So I would say the best way to do it is, yes, a month of playoffs, 2-week matchup in weeks 14, 15 and then 16, 17. And yes, it's a little weird that you're starting the playoffs in week 14, but so be it. I think that's the best way to do it. It's
tricky. I'm of both because yours is rewarding the best team, which ultimately is how things should be.
It's how it should be. Not Black Hat over here wants chaos.
Yes,
right.
always.
I'm a chaos merchant.
Yes, you are absolutely a chaos merchant.
That is, by the way, I think you just came up with your own nickname, the Merchant of Chaos.
Yes.
Merchant of Chaos.
Jay Croucher.
MOC.
That's 1,000%.
Mock.
You absolutely are. Like you like chaos. You like to spoil movies.
How can I exploit a situation?
Yes. You literally you literally do. If we put like a handlebar mustache on him, he literally would be like the villain in the old Dudley Do-Right cartoon.
We can do a top hat.
Right,
for you
exactly. Just like a little, that's you. You are the human embodiment of release.
I do love mayhem. Never done that before, but
yeah, exactly. Like whenever those insurance commercials need a new mayhem, that's you.
I'll do that.
Fantastic. You know what? I've been told my ear that Australian for chaos is Jay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lives up to it.
Well, Foster's also Australian for beer.
The vaunted Australian language.
Yeah, exactly.
Close neighbor of Portuguese.
The last notable thing from this game, guys, from a fantasy perspective.
Where are you? No, you finish where you were. Where do you vote on my proposal here?
I vote on yours because I.
What a surprise! Unbelievable. Connor wants to come back for next season.
He's no dummy.
I'm an idiot.
He's no dummy.
Yeah, I'm thinking long term. I'm not thinking short term. What I actually care about.
Yeah, 100%. Good for you.
Yes.
You know what? It wouldn't kill you to suck up once in a while. Just so you know.
Jason Connor saying Garrett Wilson should be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Robert Saleh Coach of the Year.
Over 1,100
Mike
yards.
White MVP.
Yeah, you know what? You know what? Listen, Connor Rogers.
How about that Kenny Pickett selection?
Connor Rogers is the only smart person at this table.
Yes.
Good.
Finally.
Yeah, exactly.
I figured it out. It took me. 16 weeks? Really? Yeah, just about.
Let's talk about James Cook.
Yeah. Let's finish up this game. Nothing crazy with the backfield, guys. The split's notable, but James Cook gets 7 fantasy points. Motor Singletary, 2.2. The workload on each, just nothing crazy here with the Bills' backfield to close out the season.
Yeah, they couldn't really run the ball. They've never really been able to run the ball under Josh Allen.
And they don't usually care when they can't run the ball. That's the funny thing.
It's a strange thing, and you would think that with having Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and the vertical element of Gabe Davis, this should be the easiest place in town to be able to run the ball. But the offensive line's just never been a super strength. And I think it's probably going to trend towards James Cook next season, just because he'll have another year in the system, another off season. But yeah, it's just not a situation that you're ecstatic about. Just the last thing on this game as well.
Singletary also lost a bad fumble in this game as well, so that may have had something to do with it. But look, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was just going to say, like, to your point about James Cook, like, James Cook is the future. The question is just whether the future is next week or next year. But James Cook is the future.
Can Josh Allen stop throwing interceptions? He's had 29 the past 2 seasons, lost 13 fumbles. I think this is just part of his game.
Live by the sword, die by the sword with Josh Allen.
I guess that's just what it is. But, I mean, that's the thing that separates him from Mahomes. To be fair, he's only separated from Mahomes. He's probably the second best quarterback. But it's just not going to leave his game, I think.
But I also just, like, again, other than Stephon Diggs, who scares you on that defense? I mean, like, we all had such high expectations for Gabe Davis, who was a preseason sleeper for me and has been sleeping. I mean, he's been incredibly inconsistent. And you think about, whatever. They lost Jamison Crowder in the preseason, kind of a veteran presence. I mean, they had to dust off Cole Beasley.
And Smokey Brown.
Right, and Smokey Brown.
Real dusty times.
I mean, like, really dusty times in Buffalo. I mean, like, they traded for Nyheim Hines, who, by the way, was the hero.
Yes.
Thank goodness this past Sunday. It just doesn't, listen, Isaiah McKenzie has had some flashes, right? They've had players that have had flashes, but for a team as good as they are, it doesn't feel like after Allen and Diggs that there's a lot of people that you're sort of like, we got to shut that guy down. Like, right? I mean, think about the Bengals, right? Compare them to the Bengals, where you're like, well, you got Higgins and you've got Chase, and you're like, Mixon's better than any running back the Bills have, right? And like, Burrow may not be Josh Allen, but he ain't far behind. No, so it just, I don't know. I mean, Tyler Boyd's as good as any non-Stephon Diggs wide receiver on the Bills. He doesn't have the explosiveness of a Gabe Davis, but he's got more consistent. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yep.
It's a weird one.
I think it'll be a big mission for them in the offseason to figure out who is the Robin to Stephon Diggs' Batman, because this flashes of Dawson Knox one week here and there, but they really need another guy.
They had hopes for Gabe Davis. I mean, again, he's only 23.
Yep.
He's only 23. I don't know how he profiled coming out of college. I mean, they had high hopes for Gabe Davis, and it just hasn't materialized the way they thought it would in his first full season as a starter.
Let's stay in the AFC playoff picture and get to the Bengals that you brought up. The Bengals avoid the coin flip. They set up a rematch with the Ravens. They beat Anthony Brown. At times, Jay, I know we said this off the air, it felt a little bit more difficult than it had to be. But at the end of the day, as you see the AFC playoff picture up here, if you're watching us on Peacock.
We're all in on the AFC. We got the Chargers-Jags on Saturday night. We got the Ravens-Bengals
This is a slate.
on Sunday night. That's on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man. There are no other playoff games worth watching. It's only those two.
To be
It's
fair,
only those two.
NBC's done well to dodge Bills-Dolphins, because that's the worst game.
What are you saying? You saying you don't want to see Skylar Thompson?
Not really.
Right,
no.
you know?
I think Tyreek Hill limping around.
It is. In all seriousness, so we got this is a little bit of inside baseball. But the fact of the matter is that the Monday night game had to be a 5-4 game because they didn't want to reset the seeds and everything like that, because whoever wins that game is traveling on a short week. So they just know whoever wins that game just immediately goes to where they go. So whatever. So Brady and Dak are going to Monday Night Football. But if you look at the rest of the playoff picture here over on NBC and Peacock, we start off with Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Herbert. Yep. It's a pretty good matchup. Two very young, exciting, hairy quarterbacks. I always, they're both, not follically challenged the way I am. Very excited about the hair on both those guys. The lettuce bowl. I like that.
Let's roll with it.
Exactly. The lettuce bowl Saturday night. And then Sunday night, Lamar Jackson, in theory, coming back, right?
That's the
and
kid,
Joe Burrow. And Joe
Matters
Burrow.
a lot.
Yeah.
I know. By the way, watch me sitting here making fun of Skylar Thompson. We get stuck with Anthony Brown. Right? But whatever.
Hey, Anthony Brown looked all right yesterday. I guess we're going to get into that.
All right, let's
let's
anyway, that's the playoff picture as well. The Dolphins win. They're in. They are playing the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, the Chiefs have the number 1 seed. And then you also got, you've got Chargers at Jaguars because the Jaguars won the division. And then you've got the Ravens going to Cincinnati in a rematch. It was clear that Baltimore was like, we feel pretty confident we're going to have to play you guys next week.
Yeah.
So you're not getting a look at anything.
Yeah.
This is going to be Vanilla City.
Very weird game from Cincinnati. I guess they just got up early and then it was just kind of foot off the gas. But Joe Burrow had a 23 QBR. We've talked about QBR before. There's no need to go into it, but it's 0 to 100 and he was 23. Jamar Chase went off, and Jamar Chase just lights up the Ravens secondary every single time he plays them. They just don't have the speed back there to keep up with him. Yeah. Not many do, but the weird thing is that the Bengals could not run the ball at all. They averaged 2.8 yards per carry, just couldn't get anything going despite playing with the lead all game. Matthew and I lost some money on some props around the Bengals-Ravens game, which we won't go into. But wasn't super pleased with the Bengals'
We had a prop bet that Bengals would win. They would have the most receiving yards and the most rushing yards. And we thought, well, this is, the Ravens are clearly phoning this one in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And not only did we not win that bet, we didn't even hit the majority of it. The Bengals won, but the Ravens had more receiving yards and more passing yards and more rushing yards. By the way, and not particularly close.
Anthony Brown destroyed Joe Burrow in this matchup by passing yards perspective anyway.
He attempted 44 passes, 286 yards, and let's talk about that. Isaiah Likely.
The standout for sure.
Isaiah Likely, who we loved in the preseason. We didn't know it would take us 18 weeks to get the Isaiah
We actually
Likely.
got there.
Just needed Anthony Brown this entire time to
What a
unlock
list
him.
this is, by the way.
Right.
The fantasy tight end leaders from Week 18, Matthew Berry. Don't you love it?
Lawrence Cager. I actually called that.
Jordan Akins. When the Texans don't get a franchise player at number 1 overall, that you can thank Jordan Akins. He's the reason they have the number 2 overall pick. Kittle against Arizona. That should have been a no-brainer for all of us. Isaiah Likely comes in at 3, Cole Kmet at 4, and then Lawrence Cager, who I suspect could walk up to most people and say, "Hi, my name's Lawrence Cager. I'm an NFL player," and people wouldn't know if he was actually telling the truth or not. But let's talk about Isaiah Likely. 8 for 103 on 13 targets, and looked the real deal to me. And I bring this up, not that there's any, but I just think that's a name to be kept on people's radars. This is somebody that got a ton of hype, guys, in the preseason, somebody they really liked in Baltimore in the preseason. We had Peter King on our preseason shows. He went to every camp, and he's like, what was your impression from Baltimore? And he said, draft Isaiah Likely. And then it just never happened.
Yeah. Why doesn't this guy play more, Connor? Why doesn't he play more for the Ravens? They clearly need receiving weapons.
And they are a 2 tight end team. The problem is Mark Andrews usually eats their targets, and the second tight end has been a Nick Boyle kind of player that just blocks, and that's not Isaiah Likely. He's a high-cut guy, came out of Coastal Carolina's offense, where he was a big wide receiver. But the problem is he's a really good wide receiver. So the Ravens have a lot of soul-searching to do in the offseason to figure out how do we stress the middle of the field with both tight ends in the pass game, not just one.
And by the way,
play him at receiver at this point.
Big slot. He should be a big slot.
I mean, again, right, exactly. Because at this point, like he was, I mean, for fantasy-wise, we'd like him to qualify at tight end, right? I mean, just because it's such a desolate position. But, I mean, when you think, for Baltimore, it was such a weird year. Okay, so they didn't have Gus Edwards or Dobbins to start the year, and Dobbins was in and out of the lineup. Gus Edwards was in and out of the lineup. There was a Kenyon Drake period that we don't need to talk about.
It's the dog hero,
right? I mean, but anyway, then they lose Rashad Bateman, and then suddenly Devin Duvernay is the thing, and then they lose Duvernay. And they're running James Prochet and Demarcus Robinson out there,
Deshaun Jackson,
the ghost of Deshaun Jackson, because apparently Smokey Brown was on the Bills. As long as they were going old obscure wide receivers, Lamar played bad this year, he was for Lamar.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot to work with, to be fair.
I understand. Yes. He did not have a lot to work with. There's no question about it. But I'm just saying, and he's a victim of his own success. But my point is I don't think if you looked at the body of work that Lamar Jackson played at a level we're used to seeing Lamar Jackson play at. Was he better than, a bad quarterback, Russell Wilson? Yes, but
great choice.
The thing is, though, with Lamar, he's been at this same level since the 2019 MVP season, where he's the best player in the sport. 2020, 21, 22, he's kind of been this same guy who's not a top 4 quarterback in the NFL, but, knocking on the door. But he's the 2019 guy that hasn't been there for a while now.
And it felt like they had some Tyler Huntley, and now, they've had Anthony Brown. How many games has Lamar Jackson missed at this point? It feels like 5, 6 maybe?
Yep, similar amount at the end of last season.
Yeah, I mean, so hopefully he's back for the playoffs.
Yep.
He'd better be.
He's going to be the quarterback of our Jets next season.
You know what? Listen, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to tell you. You're not actually going to know if he's going to play or not until you tune in to NBC and Peacock. So I'm just going to tell you right now, he's absolutely playing, 100%. And, if it turns out he's not, we've already got their rating. They've already tuned it in. So, don't tell them that. But basically, what I'm saying, let's just pretend that we know for sure he's playing just to juice the ratings.
I like
All right, anyway, so Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson. There you go. Sunday night on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man.
Oh, boy. I like that you talked about the Kenyon Drake era that we don't talk about. It's like when David Duchovny left the X-Files.
Yeah.
We just don't talk about. Yeah. We just don't talk about Kenyon Drake era. Just move on.
Yeah, it was just
let's talk about the Eagles.
It didn't exist. Same thing with when they replaced Bo and Luke Duke on Dukes of Hazzard, going kind of old school here. They brought in Coy and Vance.
Further back than David
no one wants to do. We don't talk about.
We don't talk about it. We don't know about it. We don't talk about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about it. No one really talks about the Hillary Swank version of the Karate Kid. Don't talk about that one. It's all Ralph Macchio.
The Point Break remake.
Yeah, exactly. There's just some things that we just pretend didn't exist.
Yes, like Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
Moving over to the NFC, Jalen Hurts returns. The Eagles clinch the #1 seed. As we look at the NFC playoff picture at the top, guys, it wasn't.
By the way, Kenyon Drake was actually good yesterday.
Yeah,
as we spent 20 minutes just crapping on Kenyon Drake.
I know, but it had almost 80 total yards and a touchdown. And a week.
3.8 yards per carry.
I know.
He's probably, what did I ever do to these guys? Nothing wrong. Sorry, the NFC playoff picture at the top here. The Cowboys take on the Bucs. The Giants will have a somewhat of a rematch against the Vikings after they lost them just a couple of weeks ago. And you see Seattle and the 49ers at the bottom there. I mean, not the same spirit as the AFC, but still compelling.
No, the truth of the matter is, all seriousness, whatever. So Dak versus Brady, great. But then, Geno Smith versus Brock Purdy, or Daniel Jones versus Kirk Cousins. I really do feel like NBC got the best quarterback matchups.
Yes, I would agree with that. But
because we know for sure Lamar Jackson is playing.
Yes. How do you feel, Matthew, that your ride or die got outplayed by Davis Webb?
Not good.
He did not look good, Jalen Hurts. That was probably maybe the biggest thing out of the week.
They looked bad.
Yeah.
They looked bad. The line got up to 17.5, and I took the 17.5. I thought the Eagles were going to kill them. When they started Davis Webb and they're starting basically all backups, you're like, okay, the Giants aren't even trying. The Eagles really need this game. And honestly, because they need to win this game to clinch the home field advantage throughout the NFC and the number 1 seed, and they looked terrible. Now, I put this out on Twitter. I said, hey, Eagles fans, you follow me, right? You know, like, you guys, this is your first game back. This is Jalen Hurts' first game back in like 3 weeks. And he looked rusty, right? The whole offense looked rusty. And now, again, okay, so they win the game and they get the first round bye. But it's going to be now another 2 weeks before Jalen Hurts plays meaningful football. He's going to have basically one meaningful football game in the last 6 weeks, I think. Last 5 or 6 weeks. Like, you worried? Like I said, hey, Eagles fans, you guys worried at all, or you guys got this? And everyone was like, nah, we got this. They were specifically running a vanilla offense. They just wanted to sort of win and get out of there. They weren't trying anything fancy. They were specifically being conservative, not to get Jalen Hurts further hurt, because he was coming off the injury and was less than 100%. And I hear all that, and that all makes total sense. But still, he looked rusty to me. The whole offense looked bleh.
He looked like he couldn't throw. That's the issue. Is that physically he just didn't look right. Maybe another 2 weeks, like maybe he'll look better. He probably will. But again, the other thing too is that Jalen Hurts, I think that as the season goes on, as we get used to these guys, their new baselines of play, and we just think, oh, Jalen Hurts, the MVP candidate. Like, Jalen Hurts isn't Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Like, he hasn't got this established level of play. Like, he's had a really good season, but he came into the season, people were thinking he was the 16th best quarterback in the NFL. Not Matthew, but most people. So I would be a little bit concerned that against this Giants secondary, which was already bad and was now playing backups, that he couldn't really do anything. But look, they get the bye. I'm sure he'll look better, but certainly a concern for the Eagles.
It makes me wonder, what is the worst roster that Brian Daboll could compete with in the NFL at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence Cager. I mean, there's some names on here that I don't even recognize, to be honest, on the backups on defense. Like, it was impressive. And, I mean, they were an onside kick away from really creating havoc.
And I'm going to get into something else. But, you know, Brian Daboll, well, I just want to say this. Like, Brian Daboll has done such an amazing job, such an incredible job for this New York Giants team, that I actually think he's hurt the coaching profession. And I'll tell you why. No, because what he's done is, I want to say, almost close to impossible. And the fact is that because of what he's done is almost close to impossible, that's why you see stuff like Lovie Smith being fired. And there's a lot of issues in Houston, and I think there's more than just. But the fact is that there are now NFL team owners that are like, why didn't you turn this around in a year? Brian Daboll did. Doug Peterson did.
Pete Carroll did it as well. The Seahawks won 9 games this year.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Win total was 5.5.
Yeah,
They had a lot of injuries as well.
1,000%. Yeah. So I mean, when you see these anomalies like that, then you have these other impatient owners. Anyway, we don't have to get into the Houston thing. I think something's rotten in Denmark in Houston as to why 2 African American coaches were fired after 1 year, each after getting only 1 year, for a team that had absolutely no talent on it whatsoever.
Rosters.
Pitiful, literally worst rosters in the NFL, and given 1 year. And I'll say, like, I'm not the biggest Lovie Smith fan. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm not the biggest Lovie Smith fan, but that team competed.
And so did Culley's team down to the wire.
1,000%. Like, that team, like, never gave up, never phoned it in. You never saw a performance from them like you saw out of the Broncos under Nathaniel Hackett, like, when the Rams just ran over put a 50 burger on them. Yep. Like, you never saw that out of the Texans, who probably, arguably, very likely have the worst roster in the NFL, top to bottom, from a talent standpoint, and yet they always competed. They almost beat Kansas City. They almost beat Dallas, right? I mean, anyway, and they beat, they won last year against the Colts. I don't know, like, again, I'm not the biggest Lovie Smith fan, but that guy got screwed.
You can say that Lovie Smith was not the guy for the future, but you can question the process of the last 2 coaches they've hired, what Nick Caserio's done with that roster now for a couple of years here, and what they have to do going forward. I think it's a completely fair argument.
1,000%. And I think it's probably above him, and I think it goes to ownership in that franchise as well. I don't know that it's necessarily. Caserio might have his hands tied behind his back. But let's focus back on the Giants and the Eagles here. To your point, like, Davis Webb was there through 40 times this game, right? Gary Brightwell got the majority of work here. Lawrence Cager, Marcus Johnson. And Kenny Golladay, guys.
Yes, great
there was
catch.
a Kenny Golladay sighting, and by the way, made an unbelievable catch to make this a one-score game, like a one-handed. You're like, oh wow, that's a really good catch. Who's that? Oh my God, it's Kenny Golladay. It's
Playing in this game.
Yes.
72. Like, they hate Kenny Golladay, right? You know what I mean? Like, Kenny Galladay's been in mothballs all year long, and he got into this game, just to give you an idea of how deep on the depth chart they were going to phone this in. And yet, they covered. And they were within a touchdown of beating the Eagles, who just looked bad. Jalen Hurts threw a bad pick in the red zone here. But if there's one lesson to be learned from this game, it's that start Boston Scott against the Giants.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what he does against the Giants. As you look at the Eagles' backfield here, Boston Scott, 9 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Not the same success for Miles Sanders here, guys. 11 rushes, 33 yards, no touchdown. He actually had the lowest points out of the 3 Eagles running backs when you include Kenneth Gainwell.
He's become very touchdown dependent because, again, in his last 5 games, he's got 5 receptions. Back-to-back games with 0 receptions. Like, he's just not being used in the passing game. And so, and they're not using him a ton as well. I mean, like, 4 of the last 6 games, he's gotten 12 or fewer touches. So he's not getting the big workload he was getting in the middle of the season, and he's averaging under 5 fantasy points per game over the last 4. I mean, basically, if you got to the playoffs with Miles Sanders, he killed you once he got there. He's become a very touchdown-dependent RB2. So just something to think about as you start thinking about playoff rosters. And I'll mention that tomorrow's show, for those of you that are in playoff pools, that are in pick'em pools, we're going to do a whole sort of playoff extravaganza for people that are playing postseason fantasy football, breaking down all the matchups and the players and how we rank them.
Jay, you brought up Pete Carroll scratching out 9 wins out of the Seahawks team. That was in a, I guess we can call it thriller, that went into overtime against the Rams. The Rams take them down to the wire once again. And Geno Smith, though, guys, did not have his best day, did not have his strongest finish to the season for Geno these last couple weeks.
Geno's been pretty blah for 2 months now. He just hasn't been the same guy. Maybe defensive coordinators have figured him out a little bit. He still makes all the throws. Like, the touchdown to Lockett was a 100th percentile throw, as good as it gets in the NFL, but throws 2 kind of just mind-numbing picks where he just doesn't see the guy, just doesn't make the throw. Adds a little bit with his legs, 51 rushing yards. To your point, Connor, we were talking about earlier, that's a new dimension that he's really added to his game. But look, he still gets the numbers, he can make all the throws, but I think Geno is a top 5 quarterback the first 5 weeks of the season. He hasn't been that guy for a while now.
Yeah, but I think some of the challenges for Geno, I don't know that it's all on Geno. I agree with you. I mean, like, he just, the league has caught up with him a little bit. And there may have been, hey, maybe there was a reason that he was a backup for as many years as he was. But I think the offensive line has played more poor recently. They have not been able to run the ball consistently. Kenneth Walker ended up having a nice game in this one, but like, it's been inconsistent for their running game a little bit. Tyler Lockett was banged up as well. Missed I think a game or 2 for Lockett, and so I think Geno Smith is probably next year is probably a higher end QB2.
Yep.
Sort of where he was.
I do think it's instructive that with the season on the line, when they were at the goal line at the end of regulation, that they didn't let Geno throw once. They just ran Kenneth Walker into the line 3 times. Like that just obviously, no one's Patrick Mahomes. That doesn't happen with Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. They put the ball in his hand. So I do think there is a little conservatism around Geno.
In fairness, that was just a criticism. I mean, let Geno cook. Is that what you're saying? Let Geno cook?
I think that maybe they know that maybe he does have a season-ending interception in him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, entirely possible. But I mean, it's just also that is, if anything, if we've learned anything about Pete Carroll over the years, it's like,
maybe he doesn't want to throw it at the goal line.
He threw at the goal line once in a Super Bowl, and never again, and never again.
The hardest lesson to learn. Right. Another conversation around this game, guys, was the missed calls that seemed to all go Seattle's way. Just another banner weekend for officiating here. This one from our friend Roto Pat, who said Lions going to become the first team in the league history to send in a tape of officiating errors from a game they didn't play in.
Right.
These are the Phantom missed calls here. Phantom running into the kicker, missed Geno intentional grounding, egregious personal foul on Jalen Ramsey, missed personal foul on DK Metcalf. The headbutt heard around the world on that one. Missed taunting call on Diggs.
I think the Ramsey one was the worst one.
Right.
Because while I was watching that play, my children were all screaming. I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't understand who the foul was on. I was trying to look for the foul without the volume. That was a key call as well that really shaped the game.
Well, because what it did was, it ultimately, quote unquote, didn't matter in the sense that because he missed the field goal. But the Rams had tied the game up, or the game was tied. Seahawks were trying to drive down the field with not that much time remaining, and then Geno Smith running out of bounds. Jalen Ramsey is basically standing in bounds, and then they collide. And Jalen Ramsey prepares himself for impact. But again, like Geno Smith had 1 foot inbound, 1 foot out of bounds on that play. It looked to me like a clean hit.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? I mean, and Geno Smith ran towards Jalen Ramsey, sort of like if we use basketball terms, Jalen Ramsey had position.
Yes.
Like if that was a basketball play, it would have been charging on Geno Smith, not blocking on Cam Akers, not on Jalen Ramsey. It would have been charging on Geno Smith, and so they call roughing the passer on Jalen Ramsey, very, very questionable. And then DK Metcalf comes over and shoves Jalen Ramsey in the face, which absolutely is a personal foul. If nothing else, it should have been offsetting, and they ignore that.
Yeah. For all the conspiracy theorists out there, like, the conspiracy should have gone the other way because you wanted the Lions to have something to play for against the Packers. There's no conspiracy here. It was just a couple of bad calls.
Just missed.
Yeah.
Just missing the DK play.
Just bad calls, and it's super weird because throughout the year, the officiating has been awesome.
They haven't missed, really.
They haven't missed one call, and it's super weird that one call is where the officiating was completely inconsistent and poor and made no sense to anyone that's ever watched football before. But every other game has just been rock solid, and it's definitely not an issue for the NFL to address in the offseason. You know, this unbelievably inconsistent performance by the officials that affects people's salaries and futures and their coaching careers. It's absolutely nothing they should look at.
Particularly, I thought, in the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game with the sack on Deshaun Watson by Cam Hayward. I think that was a fantastic call to call that roughing the passer.
Yeah, I mean, it just... Anyway.
One Rams note from this game, Cam Akers continues his strong finish of the season.
The other day, I saw somebody in the hall just absolutely grab somebody else, just grab them like that, just randomly. And somebody came by and said, "Oh my God, should I call HR?" And I said, "No, that's completely clean. Just ask the refs in the Giants-Commanders game."
John Hussey.
Yeah, you just call John Hussey. That's totally fine. It's 100% allowed. Yeah.
Cam Akers, you were saying?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, in all seriousness, Cam Akers rushes for over 100 yards, chips in 3 catches for 24 yards. Here's the deal, guys. He's been RB5 in points per game since week 13, Matthew Berry. Does this give you any inkling of hope for Cam Akers when we head into next summer to talk about draft rankings?
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, boy.
I haven't decided. I haven't decided on where I am on Cam Akers. But what I promise you is this, and you can just set your clock to this. If after I look at everything and I look at the tape and we see where everyone sort of settles in and what happens with, the Rams, do they rebuild the offensive line? Is McVay back or not? There's a lot of questions around the Rams. But once I sort of figure this out and I'm like, you know what? I'm in on Cam Akers. Yeah. He's going to suck. But if I'm out on Cam Akers, he's going to go off. So I just haven't decided which way I want Cam Akers to go, because I can just promise you it'll be the opposite of whatever I say on Cam. Cam Akers drives me crazy.
To me, the only question is McCaffrey or Akers, who goes one.
There you go.
You got a lot of time to figure it out.
A lot of time to figure it out.
That's the good part.
But do me a favor. Will you do me a favor? Will you text me and let me know what fantasy football pregame show you're on next year, just so I can see that take?
Yeah,
will you let me know?
Yeah, it's
just
you,
let me know.
You and McVay, right?
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
I just want
we'll fight it out. But we'll get there.
we're you're going to do something for BetMGM. You're going to go to my boys at ESPN. They seem to be hiring everyone. You want to maybe Fox will start something?
No, we make a trade to the Rams. You coach the Rams, and in return, NBC gets Sean McVay.
We get Sean McVay.
Yeah. I think I could be better than Hackett. So,
I think you could do
trade.
a better job than Hackett, and I'm sure NBC would very much rather have Sean McVay than you. They'd rather have Sean McVay than the three of us combined.
I'm Anthony Brown.
Yeah.
Bring in Lamar Jackson.
There you go.
For our next game, I'll save the tease because I want to leave it to a bold prediction that Matthew Berry made on Friday. So let's take to it.
Number one is just a Week 18 bold prediction that Sam Howell just absolutely balls out for the Washington Commanders. Sam Howell balls out and balls out and plays so well that the Commanders will be like, oh no, what do? Do we have a quarterback or do we still have to draft one next year?
There you go. All he did was throw for a touchdown, run for a touchdown, complete almost 60% of his passes, rounding up significantly there, and defeat the hated Dallas Cowboys. His first pass in the NFL, a touchdown to Terry McScorin, number 17 on the field, number 1 in your heart. Sam Howell, John Belushi lookalike, Sam Howell.
Tell you what, 2 things. One,
Yes, sir. What do you guys think?
Your voice sounds a lot better today than it did Friday morning in Vegas.
Can't imagine why that was.
Yeah.
Well, you know where I was not at Hakkasan until 3 a.m. Not last night.
No, you didn't go back?
I didn't go back.
Steve Aoki round 2?
That clip, literally, I left Hakkasan at 3 a.m. and I think we all met up for our pre-show meeting at 8 a.m.
Yeah,
So
Connor and I were
like,
getting abusive messages from you at 3 a.m. calling us lightweights.
Yes.
Which
You
to be
guys
fair,
were lightweights.
to be fair, it was warranted.
I was out
Yeah,
with
no,
them,
I
and
mean, I
these
had no
lightweights
response.
left.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest. I'm the oldest guy on the set. Obviously, I'm the oldest guy on the set.
Youngest at heart.
That's not true.
Youngest at heart. Youngest in maturity level for sure. Right.
All
And
balances
so
out.
these animals and some of the other NBC crew, we were all at Hakkasan. You guys all bailed.
Yes.
Yeah.
At an undisclosed
We had a show
time,
in 4 hours.
I tapped Jay on the shoulder at the table and said, pull the plug soon, and he gave me the 10-minute sign, undisclosed time.
Yeah.
And I said goodbye to Matthew.
Yeah.
Got
got out.
an undisclosed amount of sleep.
We got the hell out of
And
there.
we got the hell out of there.
The hell out of there.
It was good.
Great times.
Super smart. Very
yeah,
a lot
no,
of fun.
I live bet the Commanders yesterday after they went up
Yeah,
7
you said
nothing,
that.
expecting that Dak would get pulled. That Dak never got pulled. They got him
matter.
anyway. It turns out I wanted Dak in there longer and longer
Yes.
because he was playing so poorly. Sam Howell was by far the better quarterback in that matchup.
We talk about QBR just again in sort of this independent metric that ESPN came up with that sort of it rates how you did in the game. And so on a scale of 1 to 100, Sam Howell had a 44.5. So he's fine, which I think is probably the right number. It was an uneven performance from Howell. Like there were definitely signs where you're like, okay, great. And then there were also some some short-armed passes. And
Like a
some
guy that got no reps all year.
Like a guy that got no reps all year, like a guy that was, a rookie playing against one of the better defenses in the NFL. So, okay, 44.5, that was Sam Howell's QBR. Dak Prescott's 14.8.
Yeah.
He was bad.
They dropped some picks as well. That could have been a lot worse.
Much worse. Much worse.
14 for 37.
Dude, he's had 7 straight games with interception. He's thrown an interception in 10 of the 12 games he's played this year. And to your point, this easily could have been and probably should have been a multi-pick game for Dak Prescott.
Yep, unbelievable. Not sure what's going on there. Maybe you just throw it out because they were looking ahead to next week, but certainly some concerns for the Cowboys. Haven't looked right for over a month now.
I mean, honestly, I think something that I think has sort of gone under the radar here is that so CeeDee Lamb, we all love CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, 8, friend of the podcast.
Gotta stop calling him that.
But no, I'm gonna call him 8. I'm going to call you zeros. That's what
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
do.
Very good.
CeeDee Lamb is 8.
Agent
Listen,
zero.
zeros. What I'm going to tell you
Merchant of
here
Chaos
is,
didn't last long.
but who's getting significant snaps for this passing game is the ghost of T.Y. Hilton.
He's good.
He is not good. He is not good. He hasn't been good in 2.5 years.
He
hasn't been good
won
in
them that
2.5
game
years.
against the Eagles. T.Y. Hilton's fine.
Oh, man.
He
It's not
used to be
ideal.
good.
Yeah.
My point is that this is not a team, given that this is a team that was built for a championship run, that has so much invested on both sides of the ball. This is not a team that should be, and they haven't had any major injuries either, right? This is not a team that should be like giving significant snaps to a street free agent that they signed less than a month ago. That's my point. That's my
fair.
point.
That's fair. I'll take it.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge Zeros.
It's approved.
By the way, I mean, Tony Pollard, 7 for 19. Their most effective running back in this game was Malik Davis, and he averaged 3.8 yards per carry. I'll tell you right now, Bucks win. I'm
There
calling
it
that
is.
right now.
There it is.
I think the Bucks win. Cowboys are favored, right?
3-point favorites.
Give me the Bucks.
All right.
All right. You heard it here
Bucks
first.
straight up.
Like it.
In one of the more strange games of the entire day somehow, the Chargers go into the game. They get the news that game doesn't affect them at all, their playoff seeding, and they still play their starters for a large part of the game, in which we see Mike Williams carted off and hurt in this game, Jay. What was going through Brandon Staley's head in this one?
Nothing that I can explain. As someone who had a lot of money on the Broncos, expecting that he would act like a rational human being and sit everyone, that was infuriating. Public enemy number 1 in the Croucher household last night was Brandon Staley, but at least the Broncos got it done anyway, and Russell Wilson looked fantastic.
I parlayed the, as we talked about on Fantasy Football pregame. I parlayed the Bengals win and a Broncos win.
I followed
but I also parlayed with the lines, and the Broncos were -3.5, and so I did two different bets. One just straight up, and one with the lines. And the one with the line did not win because the Broncos did not cover the 3.5. Here's Brandon Staley on playing the starters. Quote, "They're not easy decisions, and hindsight is perfect for everyone on the outside, but these games are not easy to manage." Yes, they are.
They're very easy.
They're very easy to manage. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens in that game. You're locked into the 5. So they're actually super easy to manage, which is, hey, are you important? Sit down. Are you important? Sit down. Hey, Keenan Allen, get your ass on the bench because you're also important. Austin Ekeler, you're not touching the ball in this game because you're important. It's super easy to manage. I could have coached the Chargers this past week because it's easy to manage, which is anyone that's any good doesn't play in it because it doesn't matter.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, like honestly, right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll coach the Chargers, and Brandon Staley can do this show next year. Who says no?
Another trade. So I'll be sitting, I guess, with
audience,
Brandon
a
Staley
peacock.
and Sean McVay on Fantasy Football
Chase
Happy
Daniel
Hour.
says no because he wants to play.
But the only
he?
person that was happy about the Chargers move, about what Staley did last night, I know he was enemy number 1 in the Croucher household. I did not like it as well. I have Mike Williams in a dynasty league. Anyone that's a Chargers fan is like, wait, did we just lose Mike Williams for the playoffs? Did we just lose big Mike Williams?
He was quite injury prone.
Joey
Sure he
Bosa
says.
got hurt as well.
Right, and Joey Bosa as well. Wait, did we just? So there's only one person in the entire universe that is pro what Brandon Staley did, and that's Sean Payton. Who's just like, that's right. Dig your own grave. Get me in there. Me and Vic Fangio, we're coming in.
Speaking of
I'll
trades.
make Justin Herbert a top 3 quarterback. I'll make him. Don't you worry about that. Sean Payton, because that's the job Sean Payton wants.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, after the Chargers lose to my Swaguars this weekend,
Fire it up.
there you go. Not that I wish him to be fired, but seriously.
On the Broncos-
It's very easy to manage. That coach drives me crazy.
It is insane. On the Broncos side of this game, Russell Wilson finishes the week as QB1, as we all expected. Me and Matthew expected. Jay has not been on the Russell Wilson side of things. Let's take a look at
Let's ride.
the Week
You know what we
18
did?
quarterback
We rode.
leaders.
Yeah.
We rode. I think we're waiting for a full screen.
Yes, we are. That's all right.
Just
Week
keep
18
staring,
quarterback
fellas.
leaders led by Russell Wilson.
Oh, there we go.
Davis Mills, number
Davis
2.
Mills.
He's good,
Davis
Davis
Webb. It was a good day to be a quarterback named Davis.
Yes.
As Davis Webb comes in at QB4, Brock Purdy
Sam
at
Howell,
5.
Desmond Ridder.
I mean,
What a
like
glorious
Mac
list.
Jones at 9.
Imagine showing someone this list in August.
How about Sam Howell at 7?
Well, this is week 18. That's why you don't
true.
extend the playoffs
But I mean,
to week
you know
18.
who's not on the list? Jalen Hurts.
No.
Jalen Hurts, who played the whole game and played to win.
Dak Prescott, not
Couldn't
here.
Dak Prescott not on that list as well.
Oh, who's this?
That's my daughter, Rio Crouches for Dean, who was born in Colorado. So we put the Broncos bib on her. Lifelong Broncos
Literally,
fan.
lifelong.
Only 7 months of her life, but little Broncos fan. And my wife was pointing at the TV, being like, "That's our team, the Broncos." Well, let's see if they hire Sean Payton first before we start calling them our team.
No food for that little baby, unfortunately. Thanks to Brandon Staley.
Yeah, exactly
You can
right.
eat tomorrow. You can eat tomorrow, baby, because Daddy lost your money today.
Finally, guys, we'll close out with
But it
Sunday.
is amazing. Like, as crappy as Russell Wilson's been all year long,
That's
he finishes as the number 1 quarterback
Good for you,
in
Russ.
fantasy in Week 18. Signs of life from Latavius Murray and Jerry Jeudy in this one as well. That's the other thing that's also nuts. And I know we got to wrap. Steven, give me a second. He's in my ear yelling. It's the day after Week 18. We'll be fine. I was just going to say this. What's crazy is that all the Broncos played well in a game in which the Chargers starters played.
Yeah.
Like, Staley played to win the game, played all of his starters, still lost,
That's pretty
still
bad.
had injury prone, and still made somehow Russell Wilson look good. Like, can we fire Brandon Staley right now?
Yes,
Everything that could have gone wrong for the Chargers went wrong.
correct.
Yeah.
And
Go Jags.
everything that could have gone wrong, it's felt like for Green Bay on Sunday Night Football, went wrong. And it has the NFL world questioning, was that the swan song for Aaron Rodgers? Let's hear Rodgers after the game.
At some point the carousel comes to a stop and it's time to get off. And I think you kind of know when that is. And that's what needs to be contemplated. You know, is it time? Also, what's the organization doing? You know, it's part of it as well. But the competitive fire is always going to be there. I don't think that ever goes away. Sometimes it gets transferred, I think, to other things that might not ever fill that large void. But like I said, I feel good about what I've accomplished in this league, and wouldn't have any regrets walking away.
Strong necklace game from Aaron Rodgers there.
So that was the voice of Aaron Rodgers in his post-game press conference, a contemplative Aaron Rodgers. And I think what's exciting here, obviously an amazing career, a Hall of Fame career, a great career. But I think what's exciting here is that we'll get a quick answer.
Yeah, I was waiting for the punchline there.
It'll be decisive. It'll be decisive, and we can either say, okay, this is exciting, let's plan for the Packers' future, or, we can, give him his roses and he can decide what his post-playing career will be. So my expectation here is that we'll get an answer from Aaron Rodgers next couple of weeks. It'll be clear and concise, and absolutely he will not waver on it or drag it out. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to.
He's going to sign with the Jets on August 14th. You wait for it. Brett Favre first, now Aaron Rodgers.
Flat circle.
God, I wish we could bet on that. I so desperately
wish
happen. We could
Garrett
bet
Wilson.
on. Aaron Rodgers for Carson Wentz. Who says no? Look.
The team getting Carson Wentz.
Yeah, honestly, maybe the team getting Aaron Rodgers because he looked terrible last night. He looked terrible. I'm sorry. That's a game I picked on this show on Friday. I made my bold prediction that the Lions would beat the Packers and make the playoffs. That obviously went out the window when Seattle got gifted that win by the refs. Not that I'm bitter. But what I would say is that that was a game, and so I ended up picking the Packers on Football Night in America. I went back and forth. I did say it'd be closer than I thought. I did say it'd be a field goal game, so I got that right, that the Lions would cover. But that's a game the Packers should have won. Many missed plays by Aaron Rodgers. He played bad. And I don't want to take anything away from the Lions because the Lions had an awesome season. They played really well. But, there was a lot of stuff left on the field by Rodgers. He played awful last night.
All right. And with that, we will take our first
reaction?
break. No, we have to go to break. We have to go to break.
I was told not to rebut.
What is Steven's going to do?
Jay looked at me like, get us out. Get us out.
Specifically told
when
no
we're back,
rebuttal.
Don't
Weekend
listen
Warriors.
to Steven. Doesn't matter what Steven says in our ears. This is our show.
Just voices in our heads.
I mean, just
no rebuttal? I'm Ron Burgundy?
Right. Hello?
Speak. Back, it is time to go through the weekend Warriors from the final week of the regular NFL season. And guys, let's start with the Atlanta Falcons. Barry, Tyler Allgeier finishes the season very strong. Day 3 running back rookie pick for the Falcons. Looks like he could be the guy for them next year.
Third straight game with over 20 touches, 115 scrimmage yards in 3 of the past 4 games. He absolutely, of course, they give Cordero Patterson the cheapy touchdown. Why they couldn't have given Allgeier that touchdown. But it's clear that in a youth movement in Atlanta, they suddenly have some nice pieces. They have Drake London. In theory, they have Kyle Pitts. Ritter has been okay, and now Tyler Allgeier has absolutely taken over that backfield. He's going to be an interesting RB2 next year.
Jay, Drake London goes for 6 catches, 120 yards. Kind of makes you wonder if he had Desmond Ridder to start the season, he could have been an Offensive Rookie of the Year candidate, but a strong finish for London.
Yeah, Derek Carr's going to love throwing to him next year in Atlanta. I think Drake London's got the talent where if things break right for him with the quarterback being brought in or just the play calling that we've seen the past month, then he could be a guy who finishes as a top 10 wide receiver next season. He's got that ceiling and talent.
All right, over in Indy, Barry, Zach Moss, over 20 fantasy points. He gets the heavy workload as you expected, 18 rushes, 114 yards, and the touchdown for Moss.
First 100-yard game of his career. If there's one thing Jeff Saturday did other than lose games, it's that he established the run. And Zach Moss averaged over 18 touches a game in the 4 games since Jonathan Taylor went down. He's, whatever. He's a backup next year, depending on where he lands.
7 out of 10 gag on that one.
Thank you.
In the same game, the Houston Texans.
Please judge all my jokes immediately afterwards.
Brandon Cooks decides it's time to play again. It was a weird year for Brandon Cooks, but a strong finish.
Can we get Brandon Cooks on the Ravens? Can we get him to a real team?
He's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, he's got all the talent there. He'll be viable as a wide receiver if he's on a real team next year.
Finally, guys, Brock Purdy, one of the craziest stories of the season. Mr. Irrelevant stays hot with another strong game where he throws for 3 touchdowns.
Since taking over in Week 13, he's the 10th best quarterback in fantasy on a points-per-game basis. He's a top 10 guy. And by the way, he not only did he lead the Niners to the playoffs, he gets Kyle Shanahan Coach of the Year. Kyle Shanahan should be Coach of the Year for what he's done with Brock Purdy. 2 more touchdowns to George Kittle. There's a connection there, my friends. Fantastic. We'll be back.
I feel awkward even asking this question, but I have to. Have you thought about winning the $2 million and what you would do with it?
I'm in my my mid to late 30s, so like I think I'd like invest it.
Invest it? Pat, come on.
You wouldn't come into Roto-World. You wouldn't come into Roto-World flipping the bird off and
I'm
be like,
about to say,
take your rankings and shove it.
Are you going to quit? Are you still going to be working with us, dog?
He's going to be Matthew Berry's boss.
Listen, you can have this show for a lot less than $2 million. That much is for sure.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour, and that was Pat Kerrane, the $2 million man, the winner of the Underdog Fantasy Best Ball Tournament. Mega tournament.
Best Ball Mania III, I believe. He is the champion. He is now worth $2 million. Multi-millionaire Pat Kerrane, Roto-World's own, for probably, 24 more hours a week, maybe, tops.
Hey, no, I'm not flipping the bird, I'm not flipping the bird, so
why not? You're rich, you're above the law, you should.
Why does Pat Kerrane drink free? If anyone can afford to pay
he
for
buys
a drink,
the bar.
it's Pat Kerrane.
Well, because I'll tell you why Pat Kerrane drinks free. Pat Kerrane now owns this bar.
True.
We are drinking at Pat Kerrane's.
It's true.
Right. Which, by the way, is the name of a good, that sounds like the name of a good Irish bar.
Yes.
Irish
Pat
pub.
Kerrane's,
Yes.
exactly, Irish
that
pub.
happen, Colin.
Pat Kerrane's Irish pub. You should absolutely open up a chain of them.
Pat, in all seriousness, obviously, first off, congratulations, a massive win. But what has this last week been like for you? We opened with the funny intro, you saying that, hey, I'm going to invest it. Everybody else on the set seemed to have different ideas for you. But what has this last week been like?
Well, I mean, it's been crazy because the way this all came to be is that I was heading into Monday night in first place in this tournament, and because of the Damar Hamlin injury, the game being stopped, it was like the worst possible circumstances to be, still in first. And then it's been, the whole thing of the uncertainty around whether or not the game was going to be played, the more important uncertainty around how Damar was doing, was made last week really intense. And to get the good news that we got last Thursday and then kind of continuing since then has just been so massive. And honestly, I mean, it's been one of those things where, I was like kind of planning for what happens if I win, with the thinking of like, I might not win, but I need to kind of get some things sort of in order in case I win. So it was almost like I was sort of risk planning for the chance of winning the money. But ultimately, things really do feel very positive now. And so have been able to enjoy it a bit.
Well, which is awesome. So a couple of things here. So first off, clearly you haven't upgraded your wardrobe, so I think that's a nice choice. I like the fact that you've just decided, stay humble. I may be a multimillionaire, but I'm still gonna dress like a blogger, which is great. But
I am still a blogger, Matthew.
I mean, look at me. I dress like an old man. I stay in my lane. My question for you, Pat, is in all seriousness. The question is, well, what are you gonna do with the money? Like, you're gonna, you're buying whatever, something crazy. But also, do you anticipate changing your career at all? Because this is legitimately life-changing money, and allows you to not work at all if you want, to work at a different pace, to do anything different. Have you thought at all about? What you could say to Roto-World, hey, I only want to do this and this. I don't want to do this. Like, you can sort of create your own path now. Because so, are you going to change your career at all?
Well, so I was in project management for an energy efficiency company for like 10 years, and my goal for a long time has been to be able to do fantasy football full time. So, like, in kind of the macro view, I'm kind of where I want to be now. This is my living room, and you guys asked me, previously about what I might do with the money. Like, getting an office would be probably a good change of pace, rather than working out of a one bedroom in Brooklyn. So there's some tweaks for sure, but largely I'm where I want to be.
Pat, we know there were a lot of key players that were critical to you pulling this off, and one kind of wanted to get involved and maybe give you a shout.
Pat, first I got to say is, sheesh. Damn, man, $2 million. Hey, bro, congratulations on your win, my friend. That is incredible. And I just want to say thank you for also supporting your boy and picking me up too. I'm glad we can get that dub together. Enjoy those winnings, my friend, and best of luck. And remember, I'm always probably a pretty good pick for you in the future as well, man. Awesome. Good stuff, Pat.
That was Austin Ekeler, in case you're just listening.
Yeah.
Pat, any quick words to Ekeler before we go to break?
Yeah, huge thanks to Austin Ekeler. Literally, at one point I was in second, and the only possible way that I could get into first was if Austin Ekeler had a big play. He had a 72-yard touchdown. He also got me into the final. He scored 2 touchdowns in Week 16, the only reason I was there.
Pat, thank you so much, man. Congrats once again. And with that, we will head to last call. Last call, fellas. Let's take a look at the conference picture for the playoffs right here. Jay, I will start with you. And let's start with...
I'm going Chiefs-Niners. This is the Super Bowl. Purdy, Mahomes. What do you got, Matthew?
Same. You and I spent a lot of money betting Chiefs futures
Let's go Chiefs.
in Las Vegas.
Let's go Mahomes.
Me and Jay did. Come on.
49ers, Bengals for me.
There you go. But Swaguars and Bucks win in round 1. Peace out. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.